Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Nacho Tuesday. Today, I have Tom Jordan here with Malcolm. Today, we're going to discuss customer service and how it can be a great competitive advantage for your company, where even the smallest companies can compete against the big companies out there just by having a better customer service strategy. So, without further ado, I'd love, Tom, if you could introduce your company and what you guys do over there.
Of course. Hi, Andy. Hi, people watching. So Malcolm, we are a no-code self-service platform. So we basically help our customers build self-service systems that they can then go on and use with their own customers. So, lots of good reasons for this. It obviously helps our customers scale their customer service offering. You can be more consistent, you can be more efficient. But it's really about, helping our customers improve their customer servicing. Lots of other benefits. You can service those customers 24/7, and more and more studies these days are showing that actually, if a customer can do something themselves online, they prefer to do just that. And they can with our system, they can do it at 3 a.m, or whenever they feel like transacting with you.
Yep. Yeah, that's a big point too, because a lot of people don't want to go through a lot of efforts. They don't want to call the dreaded 1-800 line anymore. So a lot of times, you could find the answers you're looking for, especially if it's a, pretty simple question and answers. So your platform does a really good job kind of automating some of those processes and making it easier for them.
Exactly. Yeah. We let people, business owners or people working in product or customer service, basically build out the customer journeys that kind of happen quite frequently. So if you're an insurance company or if you're a broker, something like that, you're probably going to have various tasks, people changing their details or submitting their details, that sort of stuff. With our platform, you can build those really quickly yourself. You can kind of see how they work, change things. You can plug journeys into other systems that you might use, Dropbox or Google Sheets, that sort of stuff. And yeah, you can also build like knowledge bases, FAQs, all those questions that you get asked regularly. You can put those up in our system, and you can sort of display those to your customers in various ways on your website or in a support hub, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of times it kind of follows the Pareto principle. It's the 80-20 rule, if you will. So, 80% of the questions are going to be about the same small percentage of issues that customers repeatedly have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ever since the internet's been born, right, we've had frequently asked questions. And, I always think it's quite funny because sometimes, people see that as an old thing. But actually, most people searches are a question, right? And most times you talk to a business, it's normally, I have a question, I want an answer. And to the business, chances are, as you say, most people have asked that question before. So, yeah, what we find as well, we help a lot of customer service staff kind of get a lot of those repetitive questions out of the way, so they can actually, it's kind of win-win, because it means the customer gets the answer quicker, but it also means that customer service people are kind of freed up to actually spend time on the things that maybe aren't quite as common or kind of need a bit more human intervention.
Definitely. And so I guess what got you to where you're at in your career? What got you down the customer service path and building software?
It depends how bored you want to be. But I mean, when I was thinking about it this morning, actually, but so when I was 18, before I went to university, I actually got a summer job in the UK working for a big dental insurer called Bupa. And they basically chucked me into the customer service department. So, I really didn't know what I was doing at the start. I was answering phone calls and dealing with the post and all that sort of stuff. And and I went back there every university holiday, and that kind of, opened my eyes to customer service and all these people sort of phoning up. So that kind of planted the customer service seed in my head. Again, without trying to bore you too much, sort of post-university, I worked for a couple of startups. I worked for AOL, and then eventually I set up my own sort of marketing digital agency. And we did initially lots of brand stuff, logo design, websites, Facebook apps, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But a lot of the clients we were working with, banks, insurance companies, energy companies, the whole digital explosion was happening, and we actually started to do less and less marketing stuff with them, and actually more and more of what I guess you could kind of call like digital transformation stuff. So it might be building extranets or building kind of online servicing capability into their websites. And we can all remember, right, when banks used to be on high streets, and now obviously it's you phone them up or you used an app. So we sort of rode that big wave, and a lot of that work was big ticket, expensive projects, lots of spending time with the client, spending time in contact centers and call centers. So that's kind of where the customer service thing kind of came back to the fore again. So we were like listening to tools, and we were in like, feedback sessions with customers. And it's just fascinating. You're actually seeing, you particularly larger companies, you can work inside those and think you have quite a good understanding of how your customers see you, but actually you start talking to customers and you realize that they're trying to use your website on the phone on their way to work, or they're on the subway, or they're on the phone to you, but actually they've got screaming kids in the background, all that sort of stuff. It's very, very eye-opening. So anyway, so we've for 20 years we've been building systems like that for sort of big customers. And obviously every business is different, every customer is different, but there is some sort of commonality across all those projects. And myself and my team here started to realize, well, actually, there's a way you can store data, there's a way that you can pass data to third parties, and over time we're making our what we call our platform, our underlying technology, better and better. And we've always wanted to kind of offer it to smaller businesses, and also to enable businesses to be able to make changes themselves. So that's kind of where Malcolm was born from. So we were like, actually, look, we're doing all this stuff for big customers, and very much project based. You build something, you deliver it, and then if they want to change it, well, that would be another phase sort of later. We were like, wouldn't it be great if we could open this up so companies actually mainly small, but maybe big as well, to build these things themselves. And also big, wouldn't it be great if they could just change stuff, rather than having to come back to us all the time? So that was kind of the idea, really. So Malcolm is kind of, it gives you the tools to build your own self-servicing system that, historically you might have had to go out to an agency or something like that, spend a lot of money and time building. And then these days we do a bit of both. So we have Malcolm. We also sort of the business behind Malcolm also does client work. But it's something we're very passionate about, and more and more businesses are basically digitizing what they do now.
Yeah, a lot of the best founders I've seen, actually, a lot of them come out of agencies because they spend a lot of time working with a wide set of customers, and it's very easy from when you have that perspective to kind of put yourself in the customer's shoes and understand the problem. They'll see like a repetitive problem there over and over and over again. And a lot of times, to your point, they just want to go out and create a solution that would solve all their customers' problems. And they realize that there's actually, a much broader customer base out there that they don't even work with that also have the same addressable problem that they could solve with their platform that they build internally.
Yeah, and it's just a good education. I think it's a great grounding. I think to if you are in an agency and that agency has a sort of diverse client base, it is fascinating because as I mentioned earlier, you can make so many assumptions about what a user or a customer is going to do, and actually often you're wrong, and often that's an education just to sort of see that sort of stuff in action. So I think it's, you're right. I mean, I see it as well. A lot of startup founders have come from agency backgrounds and sort of honed their thought process, I think, maybe during those years, and then trying to put it into a product.
Yeah, and marketing people, one thing they're really good at is really understanding the customer service side. And I think, understanding the customer and, what they really want, because if you don't understand that, you're not going to be good at marketing, right? So, I think customer service, everything kind of starts from there. If you have great customer service, a great relationship with your customer, you really, could truly listen to and understand their needs. You could really actually better deliver on that promise that your product's supposed to deliver on. So I think, customer service really is a strategic advantage for a lot of companies that, to your point, a lot of companies really don't understand their customers as much as they really think they do. But if they do, then, they're going to be making much better decisions that really align with the interests of their customers. And ultimately, that's where the money comes from. So, I guess, in your opinion, how do you see customer service as a strategic advantage for startups and SMBs? A lot of them might have the mindset that it costs money to kind of manage a good customer service operation, and that they might want to spend their money elsewhere. What would you say to something like that?
Well, I mean, I obviously bang on about this quite a lot, and this is a sort of passion topic for me. But I think customer service is everything, right? I think actually, a lot of businesses sometimes think that actually, customer service is a cost of doing business, or it's like after sales. And I think it's actually the gift that's hiding in plain sight. It's like, and actually, if you think about your own life, if you think about your own interactions, great experiences with companies always starts with customer service. You're in a restaurant, you don't know what to order, you ask the waiter, you're like, what would you recommend? You go into a clothes shop and you want some help trying on a jacket or whatever. You're going to ask for that recommendation, and it's a gift. I think it lets you surface your expertise, stand out from the competition. And actually, a lot of marketing people will talk about creating engagement, right? And a lot of SMBs and a lot of startups will be kind of doing stuff on social media to try and create engagement. And for me, I'm like, customer service is the ultimate engagement. And if you can get it right up in the front, right as part of the pre-sales, it lets you put the blue water between you and the competitors. Really differentiates. Surface your expertise. It's kind of like win-win-win, really. So I would definitely say startup SMBs. You're probably passionate about what you do because that's why you're a startup and you're an SMB. So surface that. Put it out there as your sort of big marketing weapon, I would say.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to like onboarding, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, onboarding, obviously, to actually onboard, you've got to get somebody right who wants to be onboarded. But yeah, completely. I think it's, what I've seen back in agency land sometimes is this very big disconnect between what they would call acquisition and then, onboarding and customer service, and all that sort of stuff, which is where, you spend a lot of money to try and get people in, big sort of flashy TV adverts or whatever. And then as soon as you kind of drop them, it's kind of like, job done and that's over to a different team or whatever. So I think onboarding is almost, again, it's another way of selling to a certain extent. It's a bit like, look, it's confirming, look, you've made the right choice. We're the right people. We're passionate about this thing, whatever it is, whatever your business is, we're passionate. And now we're going to get the details we need off you so you can do the thing that you want to do. And by the way, we might along the way be able to tell you about some of the other stuff we do. And, we also do this and all that sort of stuff. So I think onboarding is key. And it's, again, I always try to say to people, take it back to your real life, because sometimes in digital, it's very easy to get excited by technology or excited by sort of articles you've read and stuff. But you actually think, the best feeling in the world is when you feel as a person, you've made the right decision, right? So, you've decided that you want this company to paint your house, or you've decided that this is the car dealership you want to buy your automobile from, whatever it is. And then actually the experience just gets better. That's brilliant. And that's when you tell your friends and you get all the recommendations and all that sort of stuff. So I think, onboarding, absolutely, huge part of the process.
To your point about like going to a restaurant, even, it's a totally different industry, but the same principles apply, right? So if you heard great things about this restaurant, presumably if they did have customer service, there's already people out there spreading word of mouth, which is free marketing, by the way. You show up to the restaurant. If you have a bad server experience, the water doesn't show up within a certain couple of minutes, they don't come and take your order. That's a terrible onboarding experience, right? And so it's going to affect your perception of the entire rest of that restaurant experience, right? And the same happens for software too, right? So if you don't have that great initial experience and your expectations aren't met when you first try out a software product, your perception of that product going forward, even if you do get onboarded, it's not going to be a positive one.
Exactly. And, mistakes happen, right? Even in, restaurants or whatever, occasionally, I don't know, people, they cook a bad dish or, someone gets food spilt on them. And again, it's all about, how they react to that, the recovery. And again, that's like real life. That kind of builds the relationships, right? So I think sometimes it can be, I'm guilty of this myself sometimes. Sometimes you think, I just want everything to be absolutely perfect. And, we're gonna keep on building this sort of, this customer flow until it's the best customer flow in the world.
Yeah.
But actually, people are quite forgiving and people are quite human, because obviously they're human, right? So if you have that interaction. So I think, it's kind of, and also particularly for I know we're talking about all types of businesses here, but also for a lot of online businesses, customer service is actually where you sort of surface your humanity. That may sound a bit grand, but it's when you actually, make people realize, hey, we're people here. Okay, you're interacting with a website, but it's been put together by people who love what they do, who are passionate about what they do, and, and want you, the customer, to have a good experience. So, I think servicing all of that is really important.
Definitely. And I guess what are some other core aspects of customer service that every startup should consider, right? So you mentioned an FAQ earlier. That's kind of like that's kind of a given, right? What are your thoughts about like chatbots and maybe some of the other features that have kind of popped up over the last few years?
Again, I think it's about the implementation, right? And I think it's again about putting yourself in the customer's shoes. So chatbots are interesting, right? So chatbots are very trendy at the moment, and everyone seems to want a chatbot. And I think for certain types of product, absolutely great. If you're, I don't know, for example, I'm relatively techie. So if I'm on a technology software provider's website and they've got a chatbot and it's implemented well, great. But let's say it's not implemented well, then actually suddenly it can become really, really annoying. So suddenly if I'm just like, sitting there going, agent, human, or regurgitating stuff, that's quite annoying. Also, I think, is it appropriate to all your customers? So, if, without being too cliche, but if you've got an aging user base, for example, are they going to be as comfortable with a chatbot as maybe,
some of them like to pick up the phone still.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's, I think I don't want to sound too negative. I think chatbots and all, there's a huge amount of tools coming out all the time, and they can be really, really great. But I think, it's all about implementation, and it's all about, I think, making sure that, it's always, you really do think from a customer's point of view, and that customer centricity. And I keep on sort of banging on about it, and it's almost like one of those phrases everyone say, "Oh, of course, we're customer centric and stuff." But sometimes it can be really easy just to forget. But not everyone's on a fast internet connection. Not everyone's got a stable internet connection. All this sort of stuff. Not everyone's on a modern machine. So, how well will a chatbot work in that sort of scenario? They're the sort of questions you need to ask, I think.
Yeah, and I think all of us have been through that endless chatbot loop, right? When, like we talked about earlier, trying to get to the simple question that 80% of the customers have, and you just want to get right to that answer and make it nice and easy. But a lot of times with bad implementation for these chatbots, you just get stuck in this loop asking for the same question, and it just sends you around in circles. And once again, that just comes back to a bad customer experience, right?
Completely. And and your opinion of the organization or company that you're dealing with is kind of going down and down and down and down, and it's, and I also think it's a bit disrespectful. Like, people are time poor, right? So if people have come, to your website and they're trying to interact with you, you've got to be conscious, like, actually, I think
we don't have time for you. Here's this chatbot for you. Go have fun with that.
Exactly. And you sort of wonder sometimes about the testing. I mean, there's been a funny story in the UK the last few days about, there's some delivery company that have implemented a chatbot, and it turns out you can sort of start asking this chatbot all sorts of rude things and crazy things and stuff. So people have just been kind of, videoing that and sharing that. And it's like, that can't have had much testing. Do you know what I mean? It's a sort of, it's that sort of stuff, and it's a bit like in their hurry to sort of say they've got a chatbot. Perhaps maybe they sort of thought, actually, this is not necessarily the best thing. So, it's always about quality of implementation, I think, is a really important thing.
Yeah, don't just treat it like a checkbox. Hey, we have customer service, right? Because I think the kind of the underlying theme here that we've been discussing is that customer service really is the pillar. Your entire business is built around it, right? Both from understanding the customer, having a great experience from the moment they interact with your brand. That's going to build long-term. That's going to, A, get you the customer in the door, and 2, convert them, 3, keep them around as a long-term customer. That's actually going to be, a net promoter for your company and actually spread the word. But customer service is one of the most important pillars of any successful organization.
It really is. And I mean, the classic example that everyone goes to, but they just live and breathe it, is Amazon, right? You sort of, it's just incredible. If something doesn't turn up and you talk to their, the other day I was actually, something that should have been delivered hadn't been delivered. So I was thinking, okay, I'll go through their service channels, and they're putting me through to an agent, and I sort of get that slight fear of dread when it's like, okay, I bet the agent's just not going to be very helpful, because that's not an Amazon experience, but that's kind of what the experience is with a lot of other, sort of online chats that I've had, and they were brilliant. They were fast. It was resolved. They sent out a new thing, and I'm sure we've all experienced so many people saying Amazon are great. It's to the point now that I think a lot of customer behavior of something like Amazon is like, I'm not even going to price check, because I kind of trust this company, but it's probably going to be competitive. So, and I know they're going to deliver, and I know if there's a problem, they're going to sort it out. And so you've got this, this massive halo effect. And I think Amazon have always understood that, technology is important, and having great products is important. But my God, they put customer service up there at front and center of everything they've done. And,
I always say it's not what you do, it's how you do it, right? So you can't just, just having a marketplace is one thing, but having a great customer experience all the way down to their vertically integrated logistics, right? So they have Prime. They could deliver, sometimes within a few hours. It's crazy, but they could even do it within 24 hours. Kind of on the average 1 to 2 days if you're a little bit further out. But they just built this whole vertically integrated, great experience all the way through for the customer.
Exactly. Yeah, great business.
So I guess what other predictions do you have for customer service trends in 2024 that SMB should be aware of?
Well, I think I think at the moment, obviously, economies aren't doing as well as they were. So I think, I think a lot of big businesses might be tempted to sort of cut customer service spend, and in some ways, actually, often that means that they're going to do more stuff online, and they're maybe going to cut down the number of people that they either have in store or they have on phones and that sort of stuff. So in one way, that should be good for companies like Malcolm, right? But again, I worry about implementation. So I think for startups and SMBs, there's kind of an opportunity here to actually again go out on the front foot and just use customer service as a means to differentiate. So I think it's always I would say the quality of what you do. So even even with Malcolm, we can give you the tools to write answers to your questions and create user journeys. But you have to write quality answers, right? You have to actually put that quality content in. You have to design customer flows in a way that will make sense. We can give you the tools to do that, but we can't actually sort of do absolutely everything. So I think the opportunity there is in 2024 is for all businesses to basically look at how they do customer service and actually say, okay, what can we do to really just lift it up a level, to really make sure that we're competing, we're standing out against all our competitors. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think and I think with the businesses that do that will do well. I think you're going to see a lot of other businesses who just sort of cut customer service and then
or automate everything without a good implementation strategy, of course.
Exactly. That's it. And then that's just frustrated customers, and again, I've seen that just on my own little social networks. I've seen people who are kind of, had pricing increases from, internet providers or something like that, and people will say, well, get in touch with them, haggle. And they're like, well, I can't, I can't get through and all this sort of stuff. And then people just sort of say, well, my provider's really great. And then you see these customers migrate to other providers. So, so I think 2024 is going to be challenging, in general for lots of businesses. But I think there's always opportunity, right? And there's always, and so the more nimble sort of customer service focused businesses, I think, can really, take advantage of people who neglect that, and I think, bring more customers to them.
Yeah, there's always a silver lining in it, right? And a lot of companies are moving towards automation, so I think there's going to be, some automation is great always. So use the tools that are there to, leverage them, but there's going to be a pushback against AI and too much automation at some point, because a lot of these bigger companies, especially if they're publicly traded, they're looking quarter to quarter, trying to cut costs and just, they care about the bottom line so much that they're going to end up missing out on that great customer experience because they're going to try to automate as much as possible. But we're already starting to kind of see it, right? People complaining about too much automation, those chatbot loops, that sort of thing. I think that's going to start to also take off in the next year or two as well. And there'll actually be a pushback towards more authenticity, away from just relying 100% on artificial intelligence and automation.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think, I can see, actually quite soon that certain companies will go out on saying, look, we don't have AI, we don't have automation. You can pick up the phone. And again, a bit of like a broken record. It's all about quality of implementation, right? I mean, I always think about airlines are quite an interesting example. So if you're ever on, your flight gets cancelled, and then a lot of the time people tell these stories where it's like, okay, we were rebooked, but we were rebooked on the most bizarre routing ever. So on one level, that's automation trying to solve the problem. Flight cancelled. Let's get this person where they want to go to. But obviously, it's not been done in a way that's particularly useful. So then suddenly you've got the problem. Everyone's like, well, I don't want that routing. I don't want to go, on 4 planes when I can be on 1 plane. Okay, I need to get in touch with someone. I need to phone up, or I need to get through to somebody. And then of course you can't, because there's very little sort of actual human resource there. And suddenly loads of people, all the same people on your flight, are trying to get through. So I think it's always easy to criticize, nobody gets it right first time, all this sort of stuff. I'm sure the airlines are trying to make that stuff better and better over time. Yeah. But I think there is a danger, like you say, of, maybe at board level, people go, this is great, we can save loads of money, and everyone tells us it's brilliant, so run with it. This seems like an exciting project. And then actually suddenly, down at the customer level, there's always people going, I'm never going to fly with that airline again, because, this is what happened to me. And that sort of stuff takes, I've seen that happen quite a lot, where that can take a few years to unfold, right? So, and often the people who started the strategy off have long gone.
Yep.
Then, but then it turns out that a lot of those customers, the next time they do their annual trip or whatever, will not fly on that airline. So yeah, I think you have to sort of be pragmatic. You have to take a sort of long-term view. Again, broken record. You have to bring it back to the customer viewpoint. If you were a customer, and this has happened to you, would you appreciate everything being automated, or do you want to talk to a human?
Yeah, and I think that's important though to keep hitting on that message, right? Because as we know in marketing, consistency is key. So even if you say it like a broken record, if anybody's listening, just that's the key message you got to walk away from this. Automation's great, but it's all about how you implement it the right way. So
yeah, and also I think it's really important. So one of the things sort of I briefly touched on is so, and we see this a lot with customers who are setting up Malcolm. Is we always say, look, take the time when you write your FAQs and when you sort of design your customer flows, because it's almost you need to sort of surface your ethos, you need to surface your sort of tone of voice. So one of the things that Malcolm will help you do is if you're a business that actually customer service is really important to you, we're going to help you kind of self-service more. So we're going to help you actually kind of do more, maybe do more when you're closed, drive all those efficiencies, that sort of stuff. But what you don't want is, you probably actually spent a long time nurturing your customers. You don't want to just suddenly say, oh, it's all online now. So you need to actually make sure that the quality of that experience is really good. That actually you've got a tone of voice that's consistent. That your policies are fair and make sense. Like sometimes, I've seen many examples where sometimes people don't actually realize how bad their policies are. So they might have a customer complaining. We've all had that thing happen. When something's gone wrong, you've asked for a refund or something, and somebody said, no refunds, or, and it's like, what? That's suddenly like super horrible. And so, so I think it's, treat customers as you would like to be treated. It's that sort of thing with, as part of this process, review what are your policies on things? What is your tone of voice? Often, a cancelled, with a lot of online products and things like that, sometimes, intent to cancel can be a great opportunity to bring a customer back, and I've seen companies that basically make it very, very hard to cancel.
Yeah, like gyms.
Yeah, completely. And then hit the customer with loads of fees on the way out. And it's crazy. And it's like, okay, so you've just basically now, completely soured your reputation for life with those customers. Well, actually, you could completely turn that around and say, why are you cancelling? Okay, it's because it's too expensive. Okay, so you could afford almost as much, but did you commit to a longer period of time or whatever? Again, going back to the human thing, it's like having a conversation.
Yeah.
It's and I think so. Even though we're all talking about automation and digitization and self-service, again, it's that human element. It's like you have to surface that within your kind of online persona, if you like.
Yeah. And there's really a thin line between love and hate, right?
Yeah,
so to your point, like a really unhappy customer could easily be flipped around into like your best net promoter. Just if you address that with a positive, caring perspective, and you actually listen to the customer and resolve the issue, that person could really easily flip back over to being a really happy customer that's want to go out and be, one of the top promoters for a company.
Yeah, completely. And and we have experience of that with Malcolm. Back in the early days, we've had people, email in sort of angrily saying this is a bug, or this doesn't work. And we've been like, sometimes it was a bug, and so we'll thank them. But other times, it's maybe a bit of a misunderstanding with the way that we've described the feature, or whatever. But actually, if you sort of say to someone, look, well, first of all, thank you for getting in touch and taking the time to give us that feedback. That's really appreciated.
Yeah.
Actually, and asking their opinion. And some of those people have gone on to become our biggest advocates. So it's definitely true. Yeah,
that's the biggest problem too. Like a lot of times you don't want to, some companies don't want to hear the bad news, right? But if you create this welcoming atmosphere where people can come and give you feedback, you're going to really actually discover problems with their product or maybe your experience that you can improve upon and make your business better overall. So if you have that welcoming environment as part of your customer service strategy, you're going to be getting great intelligence and feedback from your customers directly to you.
Oh, completely. And to give you an example, with Malcolm, so we've got a really simple feature that any bit of content or any user journey that you put into Malcolm, you can just turn a feature on that lets people give you feedback, and only your team will see that. It doesn't get published to the world. And it's incredible what you get. And, sometimes like even, the most meticulous clients who have sort of, written all this sort of, copy about how to do something, and it's gone through loads of checks. A customer will point out, but you missed out this bit, or you don't know how to do that. And they're like, my God, we have. they're quite right. And sometimes you'll get, great ideas. People will just feedback and go, oh, that's great, but really good if this could happen. Or, and it's just amazing. And again, it's just, no one can know everything, right? So even if you're immersed the whole time in your business, you're always going to get, a nugget of feedback from someone. So yeah, and then basically you're, going back to that 80-20 thing you were mentioning, you then can revise, your answer. So it's always getting better over time. So actually, yes, 80% of stuff's probably been asked before, but that doesn't mean you still can't make the answer better and better and better. And over time, that's what you can do. And it's it's really rewarding, that actually, and you see, and people can also just give a thumbs up or a thumbs down on content.
Yeah.
So again, you can see over time that actually normally the more quality your answer becomes, the more thumbs up you'll get. And that's a happy customer. And yet you haven't actually had to spend human time dealing with them. You've kind of invested the time up front, and then the dividends keep kind of coming.
And a lot of people just want to help, right? So just create an open environment. Just let them, let your customers, do the talking for you, and just provide feedback. There's so much more you can do with that intelligence that, a lot of big companies just kind of bottle themselves up from. And the people on the big board seats kind of, they're so far away from the customer service level. I really respect a lot of companies where the CEO, for instance, might even go out to, serve people on the Starbucks drive-through line. Stuff like that. Just seeing at the ground level what the customer experience is really like, and seeing how people are experiencing your brand. And it's very easy to get away from that and just look at Excel spreadsheets and reports without any context, right?
Completely. And I mean, there's so many examples of that. I mean, I'm sure you've had this. One of the most annoying things I personally find is you'll try and get through to a company, and often it can be quite hard. So often, like you've sort of negotiated a chat bot, you've finally got a phone number, you've phoned up, you've been through a voice menu, you've held for about half an hour.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they'll be like, oh, okay, it's not us who deals with that. You need to phone a different department. And I'm like, my God, this is like crazy. And it's the classic example, of sort of an inward-looking company making their sort of, departments and process be the customer's problem. And yet, I bet you those companies still say they were customer-centric. And it's so annoying, right? And and I'd be at the very least, and you get them to phone me. And like, oh no, we can't make out your own calls. And so you're just like, oh my God. But again, for SMBs, and in the UK we call them SMEs, so I keep on falling over that word, sorry. But for SMEs or SMBs and startups, that's an opportunity, right? There's all these big players who are often kind of shooting themselves in the foot all the time. Yeah. And again, if you're the person who can just put yourself in the shoes of a customer, and complete the thing for them, be a bit more helpful than they've asked. Yep. It goes so far. It's amazing.
And any size company can compete with this, and I compete with the bigger companies just with this strategy alone. I've seen a lot of really small companies where even the founders answering people's questions, and people really love that kind of stuff, right? They'll go say the CEO of the company talked to me, or I talked to the founder. And especially as startups, you're getting, direct customer feedback, making your product experience better, especially during the formation stages when you're trying to get to product market fit. But, you're really, building a reputation for your company as somebody that actually cares about your customers.
Completely. Yeah, 100%.
Well, we're getting close to the end here, but we'd love to learn more about what you guys have next down the pipeline, and, why should people check out Malcolm and come by you guys in the SaaS marketplace?
Well, I think, the SaaS marketplace, obviously, is a bewildering array of products out there. And, I think, what we try and do with Malcolm is we are genuinely coming from a sort of love of customer service, and kind of, a lot of experience doing, building systems in that world and listening to customers. So yeah, we've got new features coming out. Obviously, we've got little incremental improvements. We've got bigger sort of releases coming out. We're looking at doing things like appointment booking and stock products in the next year, which is great. But it's we're kind of slow and steady. We're not, we kind of listen to our customers. So a lot of the features that we add, people have suggested. Yep. And I guess comparing us to other products, sometimes I feel like, you look at some sort of products that might look like a comparison to Malcolm, and they're very, very wide. They're doing sort of telephony, and they're doing all sorts of things. And we've tried to actually sort of stay reasonably focused on what we know works, basically, actually from our sort of experience building stuff for really huge companies, and it's so I think we're going to be doing more of that. But I think there's a real sort of craft and attention to detail within Malcolm. And and hopefully that comes through when people use the product and see these little features that may not actually look the most exciting on the outside, but actually if you're doing that job, if you're servicing, a lot of customers, they're really helpful, and there's some really cool little features in there.
Sounds like you guys practice what you preach. So you guys are made to be successful with this product.
Well, hopefully, and I think we're not a sort of VC funded company that's kind of just make personal names for ourselves and sort of gallop off into the sunset, selling the customers on. We've been doing this for 20 years, so we sort of are, we are very passionate, genuinely. Like, this is the area that we have a lot of expertise in, and that we're very passionate about, and so we hope that comes across in the product.
Yeah, definitely, and your passion for the subject too, obviously. So I think
I've been talking to you for a long time about customer service.
And I love your guys' branding too. So that tells you guys understand marketing.
Well, hopefully, and again, it's. I was going to say it brings. If you've not seen our branding, it features a monkey, a cheeky monkey called Malcolm. I was going to say it brings a human touch to it. Probably brings a sort of a primate touch to it, more than that. But yeah, we're just trying to stand out a little bit, because I think also, and again, I've also been guilty of this in the past. Sometimes if you work in tech, you work in the software world, you kind of think everyone does, and everyone sits in front of a computer and is on high-speed connections and all that sort of stuff. And we're trying to not be too. We want to position ourselves as a bit more sort of fun, and actually we're more about our customers' world. So a lot of people maybe watching this, are entrepreneurs. They run their own business, or they're in a department of a bigger company, and they're probably busy, right? They've probably got a lot of other things that they're doing, and we're here to help them. We can help them hopefully make their customer service much better. But we don't really like sort of talking tech language and being too sort of tech self-obsessed, because I think there's a little bit of that sometimes. And actually, we're kind of more interested in our sort of customers' businesses. So the branding was an attempt to kind of be a bit more fun, a bit sort of. Not just look like a sort of another boring tech company.
Yeah, it's good to just always put yourself in other people's shoes. You know what I mean? And that's the key to customer success, is to really generally care about their problem. And to your point, just don't assume everybody's like you, and they don't understand your product like you do. They don't understand tech even like you do. So design an experience that really addresses all types of customers that aren't proficient maybe as in your product as you are, obviously. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the other thing. Yeah, you can't. Our product can, in some parts, be quite complicated, and we're always there to handhold our customers and help them set things up, and we do an awful lot of that. And I think that's, again, touching on what we were talking about earlier, it's once you've signed up or sold a customer, that's just the beginning, right? It's not the end. It's like, actually, okay, hopefully you've convinced them enough to kind of trust you with a problem or a service or whatever. But then you have to do that whole hand-holding, and you have to make sure they have a positive experience. You have to educate them about your product, help them set it up in the best way. But that, that's all part and parcel, I think, of running a great business. And I think it's, and again, it's sometimes that can drop off when people digitize stuff. And again, the ethos with Malcolm is no, we will help you digitize stuff, but we won't let that stuff drop off. We want to. We almost want to help you create a digital version of yourself that has that ethos, that has that attention to detail, that has that tone of voice, that has that caring aspect, but can serve your customer at 3 a.m, or can help you scale beyond the level that you're at now. That I think is the key thing.
That is the key takeaway there. So automation, but without sacrificing on the human experience. It's still providing, that great customer experience that people deserve and, look forward to. So. Tom, once again, thank you so much for coming on today. Everybody,
great to be here.
Everybody, check out Malcolm. We have it in the B2B SaaS marketplace. Tom Jordan, it's been a pleasure having you on. We could go for hours on this because I'm a big fan of customer service. So, we can totally geek out about this topic all day long. But yeah, definitely appreciate you coming on. Love your product. Love the branding over there. Highly recommend everybody to check out Malcolm. And
thanks,
yep. Likewise. Thank you, bud.
Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.